We got to work on our banter, man. We got to work on our banter. It leaves much to be desired.
Yeah, I know. I mean,
We had 2 takes of banter that failed.
yeah. I mean, when I can't even finish a sentence, I know that there's trouble. But I'm ready now. I'm ready. I got a lot to talk about tonight.
Yeah, me too. Hello, I'm Derek.
And I'm Peter.
And this is The Mog.
In this podcast, one of us suggests a beloved movie from our childhood for the other to watch. And then we talk about it. What made us laugh, what made us cry, and whether we should blame our parents or take it like men. Or women. Either way.
That's sexist.
Is it?
Well,
I guess we are men taking it like men.
yeah.
But if we were men taking it like women,
I never asked you, how do you identify Peter?
As Peter, I guess.
Just Peter.
Just Peter, yeah.
Like Madonna.
Except with a less distinctive name.
We have one of my films this week.
Oh, yeah, that's right. We're talking about films.
And I'm excited. It's The Court Jester.
I really enjoyed this.
Oh, that's good. Because I also like to call it The Court Jester. Enough with the whistling, goddammit. So much whistling. So much whistling.
Yeah. There's also a title about many men in tights, but that's way too much tights.
Yeah. So this film is very dear to me because it's 1955, so my dad was a big fan, and I think he watched it with his mum, my grandma. And when she came here, I think we all watched it together. So it was like, yeah, it's got a lot of history in my family. My dad, he likes comedies. My mum's into thriller and horror and dark stuff, and my dad likes comedies. Yeah.
I didn't know your mum was into that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Because you're not really a horror buff, are you?
Well, because of her, because I got to watch all these when I was a kid.
Oh, right.
Largely scarring.
That's a pretty big dichotomy. It's just like, I'll take his gore and blood and guts in The Court Jester.
He likes to laugh, my dad. So these Danny Kaye films used to be on Channel 7. You never ran into that?
I believe when I was young, I did see bits and pieces of this film.
Yeah.
And I actually do have a memory of this, but it's mainly when I was staying with my parents and I was post school, and it was on one of the cable channels.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, I didn't realize it until I was maybe a quarter of the way through, yeah, fifth of the way through.
And Hans Christian Andersen, you never saw that sort of stuff?
I know the Hans Christian Andersen one, but I just can't remember what's in it.
Yeah.
But there was a lot for me to like in this, and I think the kid in me would have loved it because it has a lot of the stuff that I like in it.
Yeah, I was really drawn to like the fantasy and the medieval stuff in this.
Sword fighting,
jousting, and just also the humor. Like I still remember the humor. It's a harmless sort of comedy, and it's sort of like Get Smart or like Mel Brooks.
It was very slapstick,
but also lots of wordplay and. And we used to watch Murder, She Wrote with my mum as well because she's into murders. But Angela Lansbury is the princess. Right. Yeah.
Actually, her and Glynis Johns.
Glynis, yeah.
Both of them were in Bedknobs and Broomsticks, which is a favourite of mine.
Oh, that's good because I haven't seen that.
Oh, that was really entertaining for me when I was young.
This will have to be in the list.
Yeah, I don't think it had Danny Kaye in it though.
And
actually, I think I would have remembered.
Yeah. This also had like another memory with my brother where we were sword fighting, and he would go la la la.
What?
There's a scene where he's sort of sword fighting and he's going la after each swipe, and he still uses that line, I think.
Oh, really?
With his kids. Yeah.
Oh, yeah. We do carry these little phrases with us, don't we? Well, this was the origin of Get It, Got It, Good.
Yeah, was it? Because, yeah.
I think it was.
Wow. That's great. I still laugh at some of these jokes.
Yeah, some of the jokes in this are pretty funny. There's a particular piece. I was laughing out loud.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's good.
Like, there's some awkward stuff in it. There's some clever stuff in it too. But I guess I should do the synopsis, hey?
Okay. So
tell me if this sounds like I'm reading. Now, let me think. It was about the throne of the rightful king of England. There's the small babe with the purple pimpernel birthmark, and I think he's been usurped by the evil King Roderick. Only the black fox can restore the true king to the throne, and all he needs is the king's key to a secret tunnel. And while he's trying to steal it, someone has to change the king's diapers. That never happened in the movie. The task falls to Hawkins, the gentlest member of the Fox's band. The Fox's lieutenant, Maid Jean, guards Hawkins and the babe while they travel. But when they meet the king's new jester on the road, they decide to initiate a daring plan for Hawkins to replace him, become an intimate at the court, and steal the key. So, humble Hawkins becomes Giacomo, the king's jester of jester and jester to the king. But things begin to get zany when the king's daughter falls for Giacomo, the king falls for Jean. People randomly sing what are supposed to be recognition codes, and a witch with very effective spells and poison pellets begins to interfere. And that's it.
Oh, normally the IMDb synopsis is much better than that.
Yeah.
This one used zany.
It used zany. Not only that, but it also, firstly, she's not a lieutenant, she's a captain.
Oh, true.
Yep. So that's
She's also a maid, Maid Jean.
Yeah, she's a maid. She's also a wench as well.
She's a wench.
There are so many references to the wenches in this.
Oh man, I loved it so much.
So
We were talking about kids' films and like how they need that little bit of adult humor to keep the adults entertained, and I think this had it.
Yeah, it had. There weren't any sort of references that you get these days, like euphemisms, but they certainly used, words like wenches, and that was pretty funny. Where, how do you put it? They had to have a feast, and a feast needs wenches. And when you're a bit sparse on wenches, you send soldiers out to just procure some.
Man, I love the king in this.
Yeah. What was it?
Some cool
Percival, Percy.
Oh, I wasn't sure of his name. But like straight from the beginning, he says to Griselda, the handmaiden to the princess, take the witch out and burn her.
Yeah, that's right.
Just like within the first 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's true. I did get a note of that. They started this film with this. It's probably the only thing that really I didn't like too much was the first song, where he's just standing in the credits singing this song that it just didn't seem to have anything to do with anything.
Yeah, and I think if you like spend a lot of time with this, which I have, and rewatch it, it ties things together because that's the song they use at the end.
Oh,
and
right. Yeah.
It actually brings back memories almost instantly for me.
Oh,
like
really?
When that song hits up, life couldn't not better be.
That was actually written by his wife.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Sylvia.
Because there's some nice little humor. They're talking about the authenticity that they tried to research of the medieval times, and once the dust had cleared, half the cast had a beard. Things like that. But it's such a pure hit of nostalgia. And I think we're dealing with drugs here because, once you watch these films, it just like hits you straight in the brain. Digging up all these old movies, man.
Yeah, it does activate parts of the brain that have atrophied, but particularly ones that we haven't watched for a while.
Yeah, I haven't seen this in decades.
There's some pretty funny stuff in this, both funny from a comedic perspective, but also there's some just leaps of logic. Like at the start, the king and his escorts are just riding along. There's about, 20 of them, 20 soldiers. And this one guy in a tree shoots an arrow, kills one of the guys. They all stop, go to the guy, have a look. It's got a note on it. They read the note.
Time to read the note. Yeah.
And then they flee.
Flee!
Back to the castle! Back to the castle! There's like one guy in a tree. He was screwed. But I actually found that pretty funny.
Yeah, there's like weird little things in this, like where Ravenhurst gets introduced and he has an argument with one of the bannermen, and they just scream at each other, "You shall die for this!" And one of us will, and they sword fight, and then he kicks the sword back to him, and everything's fine. Yeah. I was just thinking, man, what if we could just all carry swords around? Wouldn't it be great? Just blunt swords, let off steam. You used to fence.
Yeah, I did. Did
any of that appeal to you, saying this stuff?
Oh, hell
sword
yeah.
fighting?
Absolutely. Yeah. No,
I thought it might.
the sword fighting at the end of this is quite just entertaining to watch, and there's a lot of nice sword play going on.
Well, apparently he was a professional fencer, Ravenhurst's actor. I don't know his name.
Oh, Basil Rathbone.
Yeah.
He was actually my favorite Sherlock Holmes when I was growing up.
Oh, he was Holmes. Okay.
Yeah, he was really good.
He's British, right?
Yeah, you can see he does he does do fences. Some of the stances that he takes are very fencing.
It's really well sort of
choreographed. Yeah. I like the bit where he's just drinking a jug and pours a jug and drinks. The synopsis really is hard to give this justice. You know, there's that was a bit of a nice burp there. There's so much mistaken identity in this around the one person. So this guy, Danny Kaye, is the court jester, but he's not the court jester at first. What is he?
He's Hubert Hawkins. And
Hawkins, that's right.
Really, I think he was in the carnival, so he's an entertainer, but like he gets sort of conscripted by the rebels.
Yeah.
The Black Fox, and I do
remember
remember that.
That's how he gets introduced, and you think he's the Black Fox to start with.
Yeah.
Because he's singing about being the Black Fox, which I found pretty funny because he was like performing in front of all his men. Yeah. But there was some really good stuff in that song.
Man, the midgets, I still laugh.
The midgets, yeah. The dwarves.
Dwarves, little people.
Yeah, look, I don't know what the correct terminology is, but I don't think midget is the correct terminology.
I'm sorry for that.
I think it's bad. You should apologize.
I am sorry.
Did you get that?
The little people.
You got it?
I got it.
Oh, sorry.
Good.
I'm going to have to delete that.
It's all good. But they use Gadzooks. 3 of me.
Oh, I love that where he was just standing there and he moves his cloak down, there's 2 and then suddenly there's 3. That was really good. That was done really well.
Yeah, and it's got that perfect sort of 50s Hollywood cinematography. It's all shot on sound stages and like perfect lighting. The costumes are really colorful.
And the music is so 1950s.
Yeah.
Like when it first starts off and the music soars, full orchestra blaring the same introductory music that they have in pretty much every 1950s film.
Yeah. Sort of like, it's got that Singing in the Rain-esque, Wizard of Oz-esque sort of feel, you know?
It's just like everything-esque. So obviously there's musical comedy, there's slapstick, mistaken identity, all of that kind of stuff is going on.
Yeah.
But he's keen on the captain.
Captain, yeah.
He's all captain.
Jean.
Apparently.
Her name was
Jean. It was
I had a massive crush on her when I was a kid.
I can understand that. Seriously.
And she still holds up to it.
She does. Yeah. She does.
And so they're off on the road together, sort of. They're off on a secret mission
to protect the king.
Yeah, the future king.
Who is a baby with a pimpernel on its bottom.
I had to look up what a pimpernel was. It's a flower.
Yeah. Well, they show it to you enough for you to pick that up.
Yeah, I still didn't know. Like, it was just a funny word to me as a kid. Pimpernel. Yeah.
Oh, I found it a bit disturbing how often this guy was flashing the child's buttocks.
Yeah, well, it was meant to be comedic because he's got the serious face and, you know...
And everyone's bowing, Your Majesty.
Your Majesty. And it quickly flashes the bottom.
Yeah.
I remember that too.
So they leave with the child in a wine cart, and he plays an old man. And
as soon as he started coughing, it all came back. Like, you know, the ridiculous coughing where he
What's that? What's that?
What's that? And he's just coughing and can't talk.
What?
And he's like, she's meant to be mute, and so she signs it back and then goes, "What took so long?" Stutters.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh my gosh. It's pure like gets my
It was
humor.
very Marx Brothers, actually.
Marx Brothers, yeah.
Yeah, that humor was very Marx Brothers.
Sort of vaudeville type stuff. But yeah, and then they go into this sort of cabin and there's Behind the Raindrop song, and that's where they introduce the sort of love story between him and Jean. And I guess I'm a massive romantic, and upon rewatching this, it made me realize that it's probably because I was brought up on movies like this.
Yeah, I'm pretty much the same. That type of stuff was, it was good. It was done sort of in a humorous kind of way, but it was also very overt at the same time. As soon as it's like, do you like me? Yes, I like you. and then they're pretty much just kissing straight
Open.
Let's get married.
But then it's sort of back to the 50s and it goes, what's a little girl like you have such a big responsibility? And it's just really sexist.
Yeah.
And he's talking about her dad and
That's
she's
right.
trying to explain the background and he goes, oh, he does beautiful work, and he's not even listening.
Yeah, well, I wrote that down as basically, my father made me everything I am.
And he says he does beautiful work.
Yeah.
So seedy.
And then she describes all the things that he trained her to do, and and she goes through all that and says, I think he really wanted a boy.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Oh, and while he's mooning everyone with the child, he goes, this is better done by a woman.
Yeah, so it's definitely of that era.
Yeah,
some of that stuff wouldn't fly today.
Something I have to say, I am a woman and I do have feelings.
And the king, he was gone in the next scene, I think. Bring the Ferris wenches in the land.
Yeah.
And shortly afterward, there's a cart full of women.
Yeah.
And they just abducted women.
Oh, but before they part ways, the Giacomo comes in out of the rain as a jester, and he basically tells him his story, and they knock him out, and he pretends to be Giacomo. That's where the plot thickens.
Yeah.
And suddenly he's given ultimate responsibility for ensuring that everything goes to plan.
I remember this film as like always having so many instructions. It's always so
Oh
confusing.
my God. Oh my God. There's so many things that are just going backwards and forwards in this.
Plans and foiled plans.
Yeah. I'll whistle this and you'll whistle that. And then they try to do it.
Gosh.
There's one character in this that I felt really sorry for, which was the guy who he's supposed to meet when he gets into the castle.
The inside man.
Yeah, the inside man. And he barely says anything.
But he's whistling.
But I just feel so bad for him because he's just trying to follow the plot, and no one else is.
Because, Danny Kaye misinterprets and thinks that Ravenhurst is the inside man.
Yeah. Which is where the Get It Got It Good stuff.
Get It Got It Good.
It just keeps going with that.
It was good the first time.
Actually,
but
it was good the first time. Not the 20th.
No.
But I felt really sorry for that guy. And then you find out much later he gets captured, and they just mention in passing that he dies.
He got killed, and they tortured him.
They tortured him to death. Yeah, it's just mentioned in passing. It's just a small thing. Most kids would miss it. But
and he was the most sensible out of all of them. Like, he didn't want to give the baby
right.
to Giacomo.
And he let the bird free to notify the black fox. That was his last act.
And he knew that the witch had put him under hypnosis, but no one listened to him.
He was basically the Game of Thrones character. But yeah, so he passes off as Jester to get in the castle, and she's supposed to save the child. But on the way, she gets accosted by a cart full of wenches and soldiers who procure her to add to their resources.
Yeah.
It's really just, pretty interesting.
But I liked when Griselda puts him in that spell.
Oh,
and
that's
it's to make
awesome.
love to the princess.
Yeah.
And he completely changed his character into this guy. He's got the best lines. He goes, he never walks when he can leap, and he jumps on the bed. Discretion is for fools and simpletons. Caution is for cockatoos. And there's like a cockatoo in the room. Begging your pardon.
That was great. And she's describing what he should be, so his expressions are constantly changing to match what she's describing. Yeah. And eventually he goes off to woo the princess. And the princess she's like part suicidal, part sadistic, because she's constantly threatening her Griselda with being killed, and when she's not doing that and she's being given orders by her dad, she's threatening to kill herself.
Throw herself off the highest turret.
That's right. She really wanted to dive off that tower.
Yeah. But it's also stacking up at this point. So Ravenhurst wants him to assassinate the bannerman. The princess wants to escape with her, and then there's the baby as well.
Yeah.
So it's
and Giacomo actually is supposed to be an assassin as well, which no one knows about except for Ravenhurst. And he literally doesn't take in any of it. The jester Hawkins gets told by Basil what he wants him to do, and he's just ignoring him the whole time and just going on about how fantastic he is because he's been hypnotized into being this super confident dude.
Yeah. Well, it's sort of, that reminded me a lot of like Seinfeld, where they try and get these 3 storylines to match up. And that reminded me a bit of that. They pulled that off well, I thought.
They did. They put a lot of balls in the air, but they managed to juggle them pretty well.
And it all lands where he's the jester in the court, and he's thrusted the baby, and he's got the handkerchief of the princess, and Ravenhurst is looking over his shoulder, and he's...
Ravenhurst wants him to kill these 3 nobles, and Griselda does it for him without realizing that she's helping him, because she's just trying to avert another plot. And so while he's entertaining, they drop dead. And then the party continues.
He's got a nice line in where he's the jester, and he's actually performing for the king. A jester's chief employment is to kill himself for your enjoyment. And then he does a Spanish thing where he's a bullfighter and he yells out to Julio. Oh my gosh. So ridiculous.
Yeah, there's so many little things in this that some of them miss the mark, but some of them are pretty funny. The bit where he gets knighted and they speed everything up.
Oh, yeah. So it starts off slow and serious, and they're all just saying, yea, verily, yea.
Yeah.
And then it speeds up to like fast gag, and they actually reverse and
Oh, they do.
Oh
all
my
of that
gosh,
stuff.
they pushed that too far.
They did. They reversed it about 6 times.
Oh, God.
So the crux of it comes down to he has to manage to survive the daughter wanting to marry him, so he has to get out of that. The king wants him to die because he doesn't want him to marry his daughter. He wants him to marry this guy called Griswold, who is another knight who's this big impenetrable dude.
Yeah.
And he has to also save the child and help break into the castle for all of Black Fox's men. And probably my favorite scene is when, firstly, he's forced to become a knight. So they give him 3 challenges that all knights have to do.
Oh, yeah.
And they basically do it for him. He's supposed to scale a wall, and they just chuck him over a wall. He's supposed to
battle a
fierce boar, which turns out to be a piglet. And he's supposed to shoot down an eagle in flight, and before he's even drawn the bow, the eagle drops to the ground.
Yeah.
And once he gets knighted, he has to fight in a tourney because Griswold says, "Oh, you're a knight now. I challenge you to death by combat for the princess's hand." And this is where the most memorable scene is, which is the pellet with the poisons in the vessel with the pestle.
Wow, you got it first go.
The
chalice with the palace.
from the palace is the brew that is true.
Wow, you say it well. And there's also the flagon with the dragon.
Well, the flagon with the dragon has the pellet with the poison, and the vessel with the pestle has the brew that is true after the vessel and the pestle has the pellet with the poison. And then because they broke the palace from the chalice. The chalice from the palace.
Oh, that's right. They broke it. And then Griswold finds out and he's mumbling too.
And that's the best bit. Where they're both trying to remember which is from which. So they're both saying it to each other. So as they're walking towards each other, they're just repeating it. And they're not paying attention to anything that's going on. So they're basically standing in front of each other trying to remember. Yeah. And I just laughed out loud at that point. That was great.
And he was magnetized for some weird reason.
So his armor gets hit by lightning. So Hawkins' armor is magnetized. And there's just some great bits in that where he's trying to remember...
And Griswold's helmet's like sticking onto him.
Yeah, and he just keeps leaning towards him.
Oh my gosh!
And that was really great. So they do fight, and Hawkins' Countess plays off, and the guy falls off his horse, and because he's a knight in armor, he basically can't get up.
Yeah.
So Hawkins just goes down and says, "I spare thee."
There was a good line before that where they were introducing like the conflict, and he goes, "Good stock, good battle, goodbye." I used to use that line in primary school.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's pretty good. There's a lot of good lines in this if you can catch them, because there is a lot of stuff being said. And
in the end, midgets save him.
Yep.
Sort of like Ewoks.
Sorry, who saves them?
Oh, little people.
Little people.
I said.
I'm not even sure if that's right, man. I'm
Okay.
actually not sure it's
I apologize in advance
dwarves.
profusely.
I think it's, I don't know.
Dwarfs doesn't sound right.
I apologize too for having no idea.
Yeah. But sort of like Ewoks, they saved the day.
Yeah. Well, I'm you're really doing well for your case.
Well, I'm a big fan of Return of the Jedi, so I like the Ewoks.
Yeah, true. Well, basically what happens is the tunnel that they're supposed to be attacking through collapses and only small people can get through. So they get dwarves to go through, and they attack the palace. And basically it's Hawkins and dwarves, and they just wipe out the king's soldiers.
And it's all very comical. There's like,
it is comical, but they basically create a lean manufacturing chain of
like
death.
A little conveyor going up the stairs.
Yeah, where they're basically just chucking up soldiers who've been knocked out and then horribly killing them by catapulting them over the walls into the water to drown.
And it's the worst ragdoll. You can tell it's just a dummy being tossed in the water.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
So they're fighting, and then Griswold and Hawkins are forced into a duel while all the battle's going on.
And it was quite a choreographed fight scene, I thought.
And Hawkins doesn't know how to fence, basically, so he's really defensive and is just waving his sword around.
Just floundering.
Yeah, he's floundering along. And Griswolder comes to the save the day again and hypnotizes him and convinces him he's the best sword fighter there is. So suddenly he is.
And that's where my brother would use the la line. He would just take that personification to be himself.
It was really, and it was very well choreographed. And then what happens is if someone snaps their fingers, he goes out of the hypnotized state. So as soon as that happens, he starts screaming and running around and it's...
Well, he's snapping his own fingers. He's going,
that's right.
Finish you like this. Snaps out of it. What did you think of Danny Kaye? You've never seen him before.
No, really? I have seen him before.
Oh, yeah.
No, he was good. I wouldn't say that he hit the mark every time, but I would say that he certainly had a nice charm about him. I
don't find him pretentious in any way.
No.
I thought he was quite humble.
He played it all for the humor of it. It was very self-deprecating in a lot of ways.
Yeah.
But it was a vehicle for him, I think.
Oh yeah. Well, he went on to make the Danny Kaye show and things like that.
Oh, really? I looked him up. He did a lot of stuff.
Yeah, I haven't even broken like a segment of that. There's only Hans Christian Andersen, maybe one more.
Oh, no, I'm not talking about movies. I'm talking about, he had a career in music, obviously. But he also did, what do you call it when you give to the needy?
Oh, charity work. Yeah. Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah. Sound like a good dude.
Yeah.
But also, there's always controversy around every character as well. So
yeah.
But he seemed like a pretty decent dude.
Okay, that's good because like a lot of it rides on whether you like him or not. I think.
Yeah.
Because really, it's just him showing off like his characters and singing and his slapstick ability.
Yeah. I remember who the guy was that got killed. My favorite character in the film. His name was Fergus.
Fergus, such a cool name too.
Poor guy.
Poor Fergus.
Yeah, that's what my wife called her plant.
Oh, Fergus.
Yeah,
it didn't die. Her plant?
I'm not sure. I think it may have passed on.
Oh no!
But it had children.
Okay, that's good. Fergus lives on.
I think they're all dead too.
For any Ferguses out there, not all hope is lost though.
I'm sure that, the cycle of life.
But it had a really big sort of choral ending, and I still tear up at that. The real king is on the throne. Jean is my very own. Life couldn't better be. And the princess and Griswold are actually arm in arm.
Yeah, I saw that too at the end because she keeps acting like she despises him.
Well, he was really well spoken.
Yeah, I thought, he's not actually that bad.
Yeah. He was quite noble. He went back to the fight to protect the real king.
Yeah, and he also once they flashed the king again, he was on his knees as well. That sounds really awful. I'm just going, that's disturbing thing to say.
And his only crime was for loving well.
Yeah,
apparently.
that's right. Loving Angela Lansbury.
Jessica Fletcher.
Yeah, Jessica Fletcher. I used to watch that too. It had the flashbacks. I loved the flashbacks in that, where you'd actually see the murder once you'd figured it out.
But this sort of thrusted me into the fantasy genre, medieval, gummy bears, Dungeons and Dragons, the cartoon. It was all about fantasy for me, more than sci-fi, I think.
Gummy bears.
And so it really shaped my humor as well, I think. I'm always into this sort of cheesy humor.
It is cheesy, but I really enjoyed it too. I think the humor it's almost, I don't know, this is probably going to sound really cloying, but it's sort of like honest humor. It's laughs for laugh's sake, recognizing that it's not
clean.
It's not pompous.
Yeah. And it's not like scathing or anything.
No,
it's not
negative.
Characters down.
No.
Yeah.
So I guess that's the thing. Like, there's something to that. It's almost optimistic humor in a way.
Yeah. And I always remember the colors and the costumes, and it's just a fun bit of escapism, really.
It is. I think this would be something that I'd show to my kids.
Oh, it's good to hear. I mean, that you would show it to someone, like it's a recommendation from me. You would have seen it, right?
And even Alicia, who has on other movies sort of watched from the sidelines. It was quite late when I watched this, and she wanted to go to bed, but she did poke her head up once or twice.
Oh, that's nice.
Just she found it a bit difficult to just go to bed because she was enjoying it as well.
That's good. That's nice. I always remember my dad's big laughs at these. He loved his comedies, so. But I guess that's it.
That's it.
Next week, we've got your film, which I'm looking forward to now. I've come full circle, and I'm really looking forward to it. Message from Space.
Message from Space.
Yeah.
I'm pretty excited to watch this again and to have you watch it.
Yeah.
Look, it's not going to be great.
Comes with a warning.
But it's one of those films that was on the top of the list of videotapes that I watched endlessly.
Yeah, it should be good. Thanks so much for watching this one.
Thanks to everyone for watching this.
Thanks, Peter.
And for me listening to the film.
Bye. Have we stopped?
No, we haven't
Search
stopped.
catchphrase here.
Yeah, I think we really do need a hilarious catchphrase because now I feel like I've brought down the mood. Tights, more tights, not enough tights for
any old night. Good night. I'm stopping for real.